What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Essential Credentials Podcast, episode 98. I'm happy to be here. We've got our first Derek Jeter collector joining us. This is a big moment for all of us. Happy to be here on a Sunday, a beautiful Sunday, and talk about really how we decided to focus where we're at currently on the 90s. So it's going to be really fun to talk about that with, of course, our returning co-hosts, Alan and Greg. Good to see both of you guys.
What's going on?
Welcome back. And we've got our guest here too. We've got especially a guest wearing a Yankee hat. I mean, this is a really big occasion that we're allowing it. We're really happy to have him on here. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys? Thank you very much for having me on.
Definitely. And for a while, you had us all confused because Kobe East Coast. We all assumed at one point that you were a Kobe Bryant collector. So we're like, hey, we should ask him to come on and talk about basketball. So you fooled us all.
There was that point, but now it's a different point, so I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah. Happy to talk about that. So as we always do, Alan, how are we feeling coming into this episode? Any new revelations with the collection or anything?
Feel pretty good. There's a couple of things in development in my collection or in collecting in general that have yet to sort of come to its conclusion. But once it does, I'm eager to be able to talk about it and share it with you guys. I have a good story to tell, but you never know what's going to happen, how things unfold. So I don't want to jinx it. And who knows how it's actually going to unfold, right? So we'll see.
Out of everybody that we all know, Greg, I would say that Alan has had the most roller coaster experience of collecting 90s. And so we just wish you the best, and we'll talk about it after you get them, dude.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's going to be fun. Greg, how's it going over there for you?
Things are good. Softball season's about to start up. Playing men's competitive softball, double headers. Last week, we had a rain out, so I'm hoping Thursday we get going. So I'm just itching to go. That's where I'm at. I just got 2 new bats, so that's where my money's getting spent. It kind of ebbs and flows, but right now I'm getting the bats and the softball game going. So that's where my enthusiasm is. Baseball season, it's just all happening at once. It's really fun time. It's exciting time. Anything can happen. Nobody's out. The White Sox are 2-11, but they're still going to win the World Series. So it is. Here we are. I'm ready.
I don't know what's worse, being a White Sox fan and knowing you guys aren't going to win, or being a Mariners fan and having all these expectations going into the season and still sucking. I'm not sure which is worse, but we can cry together. It's okay.
Yeah, I would say being a White Sox fan and going to the World Series this year. So count it.
I mean, if that happens, man, the dinner and lunch is on me at the National if they even win.
Okay.
So,
all right.
You want to take a minute to welcome some of the people who are in chat?
Yeah, go for it, man. Yep.
We have Brent Richards coming to say hello. He was here on time at 6:00. Appreciate it. Hope you're still with us. Alexander Vaxman, hello. Good to see you. Ohio lawyer, of course. Stalwart of the show. Good evening.
Right.
Matt McNeil checking in. How's it going, man?
Love you guys.
And already a comment.
I mean, somebody's got to get their butts kicked to help the other team, so it's all good. We're just helping the Astros out for Matt, so no biggie. So Milan, you've been on some podcasts before, including Jeremy Lee's show, which I think we all would agree is probably like the pinnacle of getting onto a sports YouTube podcast type thing. But have you ever had the chance to get on and talk about your Jeter collection that you're going to talk about today?
No, that was when I was on Jeremy Rogan's show. That was back with the transition started from Kobe to Jeter. So I haven't had a chance to talk about the Jeter collection yet.
Awesome. Well, we're really looking forward to hearing about that. So Alan, I'm going to go to you first. I mean, or Greg or Alan, whichever one you want to go. Like, what was it about when you noticed his collection? Like, what was it? What made you want to get him on here to talk about 90s inserts?
Well, for me, I mean, it was just the enthusiasm that you showed in the chat, really. We do the show for us, really. We talk about things that we like talking about. Of course, we think about who's going to be watching and what they would also like to hear. But since we're here to enjoy sort of our own show, it's really cool to have people talking in chat. It's going to be a little bit quieter without you in there. I remember the first time I saw you, I was like, what is a basketball guy doing here? Are we finally bridging that gap? Did we make it? Are we basketball people too now? And then I find out actually you've moved to a different part of a different stage of collecting. So that's where I am.
Yeah. So I would say for me personally, just enthusiasm is intoxicating, right? It's contagious and it's intoxicating. So when you're talking to somebody who's really enjoying their collection, who wants to talk to you about the cards, there's just that certain mystique aura about a person, and it connects, right? You just get that instant connection of like, man, this guy is on my level. And Milan, you definitely rubbed me that way, where I was like, man, this guy like gets cards like I get cards, and that's what I want. I want somebody on here who gets it like I get it, and that's always what we're looking. That's always what we're looking for, is somebody who just kind of has that heart, that fire, that desire, that inner passion, and that's what I thought you had.
I appreciate that. I definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice. I mean, it's infectious for all of us, because when you're in the chat and you're talking about things, you send us on tangents, and it's a lot of fun. And I quite enjoy the chats and going back and having a reason to look at the cards. So I think that's been a huge part of getting you on here. So we're really happy to have you here. And before we get into our main topic, we all want to ask you a question just kind of about your journey as a collector. I think we all have really unique stories, and also some overlap, of course. But for me, I think I would just like to know, where did your passion for collecting come from?
Okay. Well, before I just get into that, I just wanted to say a couple things about your show. And I kind of, because of my transition into something that I really didn't know much about per se, I knew the era and I knew the cards, but I really didn't go that deep into it, because to me, the baseball part of the late 90s is similar to basketball, but it's also vastly different, as well as the individuals that are collecting this part of the hobby as opposed to basketball. So when I came across your show, which was specifically, obviously by the title, but it was specifically geared towards that era and towards those cards that I myself collect, it really drew me in. And I do appreciate that you guys show up, weekly, do the shows. I enjoy them. I have learned a lot as well. So I just want to thank all three of you. You guys have great chemistry, and I appreciate you giving me a chance to come on here and just talk to you guys. And then just remind me again of the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like where your passion for collecting started, right? I mean, we all have got it either from our dads or from friends or whatever, but it's always interesting to hear where that fire started burning.
Right. So my collection really started, my passion for collecting cards really started when I was probably about 8-9 years old. It was in like 93, 94, and nobody in my family ever collected. We actually moved to the States in 92, so I didn't really have any idea about sports cards. We had the stickers when I was back home in Europe, growing up, like the soccer stars that I stuck all over my bedroom wall. But when I came here, I fell in love with Shaq, watching basketball. Shaq was, a big inspiration to me. I love the guy. I thought it was funny. I watched the movies. I had the sneakers. And then when the 94 Flair USA basketball set came out, I remember buying those packs. I was on a vacation in Florida with my family. And I remember walking around the town and seeing a sports card shop in the evening. And I told my father, like, can I take a look? And he's like, yeah, whatever. So he bought me a pack of the Flair. And I remember opening it up and like getting the Shaq card, those Karl Malone, everything. So that was awesome. That's kind of how that started. And then even from that age, I remember that I really was player driven. Like Shaq was the guy that I enjoyed. So I had a lot of Shaq cards, just common cards, nothing that was really of any monetary value. And I built a binder of Shaq cards. I probably had, I don't know, at that time, 60, 70 singles of Shaq. And then that's really how the collecting started. I had a few friends of mine that built binders as well with the Jordan, so we kind of had that mutual interest. But other than that, it was really just something in me that liked collecting. I have this OCD thing as well, where it's like when you start doing something, I want to finish it. I want to make it as complete as I possibly can. Those things take time. I don't like to rush into anything. I like to be very meticulous about it. So the initial collecting started with Shaq, and then eventually it transitioned into Kobe, which has finally come to this stage of Jeter. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up with one thing you said, which was that you had just immigrated, right, to the United States from a different country and from a different continent. So when you got here and people were opening packs of cards, was that kind of like a culture shock? Was it weird to you? Like, what is this exactly and why are we doing it? Or did you just slide right into it?
I didn't think of it as it was weird. I just thought of it as something that was fun. Because I remember Pogs. Like, Pogs were a big thing too. I used to like to get the slammers, and I love the artwork on the on the Pogs. So the place in my local neighborhood that sold some sports cards sold Pogs. So I remember going by Pogs and pick up a pack of cards. It wasn't like anything out of the ordinary. Like, there was no value to it at that time other than having fun and having something to talk about, and I guess the chase too. That was at that point, that was what drove you.
So did you have people like peers and friends that you were trading with? Did you have people that you could talk to about cards, or was this something that you were doing on your own?
Majority of it, even in my adult life, has been on my own. I did not really get built relationships in the hobby until Instagram.
Wow.
Instagram really put me together with a lot of people. I didn't know anybody per se before that. I've gone to maybe a handful of shows up until that point, but the majority of my collecting was personal. Obviously, just on eBay, online, and not really having too many people in person that I could, share the hobby with, or that I even really knew a community existed, other than, for example, like Blowout. And I didn't get to Hobby Kings, but Blowout was really where I was active at the time. That was kind of the community that I found, but nobody in person, not in real life, not really.
So what are the years that you would consider you were an active collector?
I was collecting when I was a kid from like 93 to 96. Stopped in 96, same thing, high school, college, and then I picked it back up again in about 2008. And I was very active between 2008 and 9 and about 2014. That was my most active time. Then I took a break from 2014 up until about 2019. Not that I didn't buy a card between that period, but I wasn't on eBay like daily, refreshing my save searches. And I had this thing that I had. It was pretty much set, and I just kind of forgot about it. It was there. It was something like that I enjoyed, but that was those 2008-9 to about 14 was my most active prior to getting back in 2019.
Okay, so looking back now, what years would you consider the most advantageous for your collection?
In terms of buying, was definitely 2008 to 2014.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
We often have discussions among ourselves, me in particular, because my active collecting intervals are almost dead on with yours. I collected hockey in 2007, 2008 till about 2011 or 12. And I was like, if I had only collected what I really wanted, what a collection I could have and for what price. Yeah. And so, yeah, that was a question I was going to ask. So I'm glad you brought it up, Greg. I know that you started with basketball. You talked about this briefly, and then you transitioned into baseball. This is kind of jumping a little bit forward, but I know that you were putting together a collection of BGS 9.5 Kobe cards. Yes. And that sounds like a very sort of old school way of collecting. And I remember you saying on one of your previous interviews that you didn't really know about the 90s that much. You just collected cool cards that you could get for good prices that you could grade. for a 9.5, right? And so you love some of those big cards like the Jambalaya Kobe and some other ones. But I just want to know, like, for you, how does it feel being among baseball card insert collectors versus basketball insert collectors? Because you did have that brief period in 2018 to 2020 where you were running in inserts just like us. You just happened to be in a different sport.
Right. So that's a great point. That so yes, I consider myself dumb lucky in the sense that I really went with visualization as opposed to knowing the odds or knowing the rarity. And the BGS 9.5 the reason why I went with that is because back then everybody that collected basketball was with BGS because of Beckett the magazine at that time, and I still to this day do consider PSA more of a baseball company because of the vintage and because of just the way I remember it growing up. So the BGS 9.5 fascination, that was kind of an extra layer on top of the collection. Just visually, I wanted a uniform look to my display, and it was much easier back then to either buy BGS 9.5 cards or to cross them over from a PSA 10, which is like blasphemy nowadays, but that was the case back then, and it was much easier. When it came to the actual cards that I was buying, I really went on looks, because I'm sure if you pick out anybody that doesn't even collect cards and you showed them 5 inserts from the 90s, and then you showed them even Select or Panini from 10 years ago, they would, the majority of people visually, I'm pretty sure, would say these cards look awesome. These cards kind of look the same. They have different hollow foils, but the pictures are the same. There's really not that many die cuts. So that whole period of time, coincidentally, it happened to be Kobe's rookie years and the beginning of his career when majority of these cards were produced, which was just kind of like a perfect storm. But you know, for guys that like us that are in that era, the visualization, the rarity, and then the stories, when you start getting deeper into it, there's so many layers of the cake for that period of time that I think that, like, you know, once you start diving into it, you just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's never enough. Like I still haven't, you know, it's been 4 years now I've been collecting Jeter, and I know it's a short period of time in the grand scheme of things, but I learn new cards of his per se weekly that like I never saw before or that I never imagined before.
Yeah, I think we all still discuss like when that period stopped, Alan and Greg, right? And we kept learning, and now we feel like we kind of know everything, and then all of a sudden something else comes up, and you're like, geez, okay, add it to the list, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's almost impossible to know everything in terms of bankruptcy, executive proof, just oddball stuff that just pops up that interests you. You know, you kind of you stay in your lane, but then you got a flashy rabbit or squirrel, and you're like, oh man, that really changes the game right here, and it becomes hard. But I got a question I want to ask. So you've got Jeter 4 years, you got Kobe for an extensive amount of period. What are you getting the most joy out of the comparisons, Kobe or Jeter?
It's different types of joy.
Okay.
This time around, I knew what I wanted to look for, and the joy is finding it for the amount of money that I'm willing to spend, because I know what to look for. The previous collection was a joy in discovering a card that looked awesome. So once I went through that period of discovering the cards that looked awesome, then I learned about the cards learned more about the cards that I had and some of the rarity and some of what. Then when I moved into the Jeter, it was more so I knew what I wanted to get first, like knock it off the list kind of thing, before it might have gotten out of hand or it might not show up again. So that's kind of but there's the joy in collecting both of them is there. It's there. It's just different types of joy. If that answers your question, if that's kind of.
Okay. So we're looking at two categories here. We're looking at kind of what you mentioned as a dumb luck excitement, and now you're at a pinpoint accuracy kind of excitement. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like there's no way you could collect the 90s based on dumb luck anymore. I mean, there's just too much knowledge out there. There's too many people out there that are collecting it. But I have to ask, I don't know, I guess it didn't really come up unless I missed it. But when you got into baseball, was Jeter always going to be the guy, or did you take a look at the landscape of things and say, okay, here are tiers of guys that I can collect. Here's who's going to have the most cards in the 90s to collect? Was that a big factor, or did you know that Jeter was going to be it right from the beginning?
I kind of gravitated towards Jeter from the beginning, because there was a period of time once I moved my Kobe collection and I had no cards at all. I was really, I sat back and I thought about, what do I want to do now? Like, what would give me some excitement? So there was a brief period of time for about, I would say 2 months, where I tried to get RJ Barrett, because I'm a Knicks fan, and I was getting his gold waves and gold, like the gold Prism Select Golds, rare cards. I was going to get, just saying, I was trying to get the rare cards. But then, sanity kicked in, per se, and I was like, this is such a high risk, low reward kind of investment. That's not my style. I can't feel comfortable with having that, in my house, on my wall, or wherever. So I was lucky enough that I was able to kind of move those cards in a relatively short period of time. And the thing that kicked it off for me with Jeter was when I started diving into the comparison between him and Kobe, because even collecting wise, in basketball, you have Jordan and then you have Kobe. In baseball, you have Griffey and then you have Jeter, price wise. And my main, I wanted to buy somebody that it was a low risk, that I could, afford most of the cards or some of the cards, and that I would be comfortable with and that I would enjoy them. On top of that, from the same era, the same style of cards as Kobe's. And I was lucky enough I got to watch Jeter play live. I never saw Kobe play live. And I was a Yankee fan growing up. I mean, I still like the Yankees. I don't really watch baseball anymore. But those years, when they were the dynasty, that was a big part of my life growing up. So that, along with the accomplishments of his career and just the clean persona that he portrayed in the New York spotlight, without having, not that it matters, but at the end of the day, it was just everything boiled into one. I jumped on him and I was like, this is the guy. This is it. The cards are awesome. The cards, it's the same style cards, most of them. And then the whole, world opened up of other stuff that I never even thought of when it comes to Jeter.
So you mentioned low risk, and I've heard you say that twice now, low risk. You sold your Kobe's off. What, as a Jeter collector, what is your collector versus investor scale looking like? Are you collecting for fun, or are you thinking like at the end, I'm going to be able to sell these off and make good money? Like, what does that scale look like for you right now?
I'm not considering selling anything. I never considered even selling my Kobe's until it got to the point where the cards that I was missing, when I started to realize what I was missing, were so high that it was like, I'm never going to be able to get these. And it kind of, that, along with his passing, after his passing, looking at those cards, I couldn't really look at them the same anymore, let alone buy them. So one of the last cards that I bought of his was the Green EX 95 rookie. And that was like a couple $1,000s back then. And I was like, this has gotten very high. And, also, when it comes to the low risk part about it, now when I invest in something, like, I'd like to invest in something knowing that down the line, if I pass it along, it's going to have some intrinsic value to my kids, what they want to do with it, or whether I end up selling it in 15, 20 years for something greater, not just to sell it, but for a better purpose. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know that there's some value there. So I'm that type of person. If I spend money on something, I'm conscious of the fact that, you know, I might lose 40-50%, but it won't go 90% down.
Right. Well, I mean that, Alan, I'm gonna springboard this to you, man. I mean, he's talking about what our main topic is, right? I mean, that's when you were framing our topic. He's speaking right to that. So I'll let you take it from here.
I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking. I just want to say hello to a few more people that have come in since we said hello last time. We got Work Done PC.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy, friend of the show. What's up? Good to see you. And did we have vintage cards show up yet? Not yet. So good to see you.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we're talking basically exactly about the topic that we're supposed to talk about today, and it was because I was thinking about how you came to decide on Jeter versus some of those other players like maybe Ricky Henderson, who played for the Yankees for a brief period of time and do have 90s cards. And I would be curious, as part of your whole analysis, did you consider other Yankee players? Because you knew what the hot cards were. You knew because you didn't have a lot of them for Kobe. And
Right.
so when you came into baseball, you were laser focused on specific sets that you knew you had to get. Was it just an easy decision for Jeter? Because, I mean, it's an obvious one, but were you at all torn, or is it because you thought that it's the safest move for you among all the Yankees that played during that period to put a significant amount of money in those cards in case you want to do something with them later down the line or something happens, God forbid?
I did not consider any other Yankees. To be honest with you, the first Yankee or baseball player that came to mind was Jeter. And that's simply from the comparison with Kobe. To me, Jeter's rookie year is 96. I understand there's a whole 300 something rookie cards from 93 to 96, but he won rookie of the year in 96.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't win rookie of the year in 93. So to me, they both started in 96, 20 years with the same team, 5 championships, both of them. One guy was in LA, one guy was in New York. Career earnings, believe it or not, are pretty much on an identical trajectory. So much of that was just like, it was kind of like staring me in the face. And the price point of his cards compared to Kobe's was something that I was able to swallow, and, you know, it made it fun for me to chase.
That blew my mind, actually. On the interview with Jeremy, you said you're not the type of person who wants to spend that kind of money, like 5-figure money, on sports cards. And so you left Kobe and you went to Jeter, you know, the second or third most expensive player in baseball, like prohibitively expensive for 99% of 90s insert collectors. And it's just huge. I can't even imagine what the leap, I guess, down was between high-end Kobe and high-end Jeter. They're just not even in the same stratosphere, it sounds like.
The price point was very different. It still is. I mean, it still is. But the thing is, like, Jeter collectors, and what I came to realize, and like even baseball collectors, they'll focus on rare pops. Like, for example, an A3 SP. That, like, even if I had that much money, I wouldn't spend that on a 10 just to say I bought a 10, because that's so subjective. I would rather spend that money on the essential credentials now, for example, and have a copy of that than have an SP10. So the cards that were high of his, to me, weren't really that appealing. Like the 96 Mirror Gold, I get it. It's a beautiful card, but to me, it still doesn't rank as a basketball, because that set did not exist in basketball. So it had I had no draw to it. But the ones that did exist in basketball that I didn't have were like the Rubies, the Essential Credentials, the PMGs. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the first cards that I tried to pick up.
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I want to come back to that, because it's fascinating to me that that your exposure to 90s inserts in basketball had that big of an impact on what you value in baseball. That's one of my favorite topics to think about. As you know, you've seen a lot of our shows.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just want to throw it out actually to Matt and Greg. When we were thinking about this episode, when you were preparing for it, what factors did you consider besides the investor collector part to sort of think about how you found Tim Salmon or Frank Thomas, or how you found A-Rod. I mean, we talked about, is it the years that matter? Is it the teams they played on? Is it simply just that narrow range of 90s cards? Do we include autographs in there? Do we include relics? How did you guys think about it?
Really quick, before we move too far forward, he just mentioned 96 mirror gold doesn't exist in basketball, so it wasn't really a thought of his. And that is one of the things that we harp on so much, is what cards are overshadowed or overlooked, and why are they overlooked? And right there, 96 mirror gold, basketball doesn't have the equivalent. So he's saying it's not that big of a deal for him. And for us as baseball collectors, that is a holy grail. Mm-hmm. And so, the viewpoints, the perspectives, and how it's perceived among collectors. As baseball collectors, we're like, oh, it doesn't get much better than this. And he's saying, I didn't recognize this as anything because it doesn't exist in basketball. That is one of the things that we are considering as why cards are undervalued. And so when he said that, it just like the stars started popping in my head. Like we are saying things that are real, because he's saying it right now. He doesn't have an equivalent, so he didn't really factor that in. But man, just to think, if basketball collectors like had a 96 mirror gold, like what does that mean for baseball, man? That is just a thought that just blows my mind, and I have to talk about it right now.
You wouldn't be able to afford anybody if basketball had that same parallel. Can you imagine trying to buy a Bonds, Frank, or A-Rod or Jeter? You wouldn't be able to. Basically, you wouldn't be able to. You'd have to spend so much to get one. So, in essence, it's a good thing they don't exist.
Well,
It's so funny too, because Alan was, as you asked him, Alan, I was thinking, when I went from A-Rod and then was like, I'm going to collect a few hockey cards, I went right for the mirror gold first, because I knew hockey had them. And my Jocelyn Tebow BGS 9 mirror gold out of like 30 was like $20. And I was like, I can't believe what I just bought, because the A-Rod at the time was like $1,500. So it's so funny to think that.
Just to, not to interrupt you, Matt, but I just want to chime in. When it comes to that mirror gold, for example, don't get me wrong, I would love to have one. I understand the value from a baseball perspective, but there's something about like plenty of baseball cards that don't have serial numbered on them. So serial numbers say a lot. You could say it's printed to 30. You could say the red one's printed to 90 or 190 or whatever, the blue. But when that serial number isn't there, that is another mystique that kind of I don't know if it takes away from it, but it's one of those things where you really wonder: are there really 30? Are there 40? Are there 50? I mean, you know what I mean? And so that's but definitely it didn't exist in basketball, and it's not a thing that I knew about even. But when I did discover, I was like, oh, this is cool. But then when I saw the price of the Jeter or something, I was like, what? I was like, what?
Maybe the most expensive 90s card in existence is the high-end Jeter from 96, right? So I was also going to color your view on that. It's a very baseball thought. It's a very sports card collector thought to think about print runs and how many have survived and what the stamp on the back means and how easy it is to counterfeit, especially with all the shenanigans that have gone on. Feels like every year from the very beginning. You just really never know. I mean, even PMGs we've discovered from 1999, there might be 2 of every copy. So 2 properly stamped of every copy. It's possible. We've seen a couple where there are 2. So, I mean, it's something that you do have to consider, especially if you're risk averse and you're calculating that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, Alan, the original question was, why do we collect what we like? What's the reason? And I want to get back to that because I got sidetracked, but I want to get back to that.
Mirror gold.
Yeah, when you mentioned mirror gold, I'm like, go on, keep going. But so the reason I collect what I collect is because my heart's behind it. I was a Frank Thomas collector, and I pulled Tim Salmon and I became a Tim Salmon collector. But this all originated from the age of 8 to 12. And so that is the reason why I feel the way I do about the cards that I have. And I have the passion that I do, is because everything originated back then. And so when I see a 96 Frank Thomas, I instantly get transported to 1996. And I'm like, oh, I remember trying to get something like this or some version. And it all originates from that. And that's where I think the collector, in us, in the kid in us is strong. And that's where my collection originates from, is from the heart and the passion of it. And just the nostalgic value, just the remembrance, the memories of being a kid. That for me is personally why I collect the people that I do. Barry Sanders, Larry Bird, those were all guys that existed when I was 8 to 12. And that's why I collect who I collect. What about you, Matt?
Well, I would love to chime in, but the dogs want to be a part of this too. So I guess I'm just going to roll with this. But I'm going to springboard right off what you just said, man. I mean, it's all about the heart for me too. I'm driven as a collector of modern and, of course, 90s by the players and the memories that followed those players. So, Alex Rodriguez and Joey Cora, man, those are my guys in the 90s. And Derek Jeter ruined a lot of good times that we could have had, for sure. Team. There's no doubt about it. I hate that team so much.
So wait,
they're amazing. So
you're a Mariners fan, right?
I mean, through and through, dude. My grandfather brought up the 95 Mile Mariners, and we whooped you guys, thankfully. But then it all went downhill after that, man. We've never bested the Yankees since then.
So my first ever baseball game was 1996. Yankees Mariners, Dwight Gooden no-hitter.
Wow.
Oh man, I thought you were about to say when he pitched in Seattle. Yeah, the no-hitter. He worked us pretty bad, and then of course I think it was the next time he pitched against them, the Mariners got to him. But man, what a start for him. He was nasty. But yeah, just a lot of good memories. I mean, just like Craig is saying, I find it a little bit more challenging now to continue loving A-Rod because I don't really get to see anything about him. He kind of had this ownership thing with the T-Wolves, but I do wish that I was like 30 years old and actively collecting A-Rod while he was playing for the Mariners. I mean, that would have been a really fun time for me to be able to afford what I do now. I think we can all agree to that, right? So yeah, it's all about nostalgia and great memories that I've had and the friendships, man. That keeps me going as well. So great question, Alan.
Well, for me, it is definitely that Bonds was my favorite player. He plays on my hometown team. So I have a lot of respect for people who collect any player from a team that they were fans of as a kid. It doesn't matter what player it is, actually, to 90s guys like Greg was talking about early in the episode. If I meet somebody who speaks my language and shows that passion for a player that they sort of grew up with, I like you. You know what I mean? We're going to have a lot to talk about already because we sort of see things the same way. But, Greg was talking about just heart, and Matt said friendship. For me, I have probably a little bit more investor in me than either of you guys. And so when I came back in 2018, I decided I'm going to collect Barry Bonds. Finally, I have his 1993 Ultra base card. I have a couple of inserts from 1994. That's about it, right? So if I'm going to spend any kind of money, I just collected hockey in 2008, and I cracked lots of boxes, and all those cards came out in Beckett, and then every month they would go down. Every month they would go down, and you feel like you were just losing every month. So then I consolidated up and traded up into rookie cards, you know what I mean? And then ultimately I lost the passion for it and got out. I said, if I'm going to come into Barry Bonds, it has to be something where if I spend a significant amount of money, it has to stay. It can't just go away. Right. I'm going to spend $1,000 on a baseball card when I've never even spent a dime on a single previously in my life. It has to be legit. So I started with the standard stuff that everybody collects, which is rookie cards, rookie year cards, XRCs. Started with his rarest rookie card because our players came up in the junk wax era. So they produced millions of these things. So it was really hard to find cards that are really actually rare and are chase cards and are worth the 4 or 5 figures or whatever they're worth. And so this is what I started with initially, because I thought these are rare. So whatever I pay for these, or rare in the grade at least in the case of this one and this one, but whatever I pay for these, I don't want it to degrade every month over time. That would break my heart. So that is where I got started in Barry Bonds, and then slowly moved over as I saw how amazing the 90s were. I know that you were talking to us privately about how you're working on the Epic set now, and how you're to complete your rainbow, you want to get those bankruptcy. The leg of the bankruptcy cards is different for basically every player, right? You've got the play, the game, the season, and moments. For Bonds, it's the season. For Jeter, it's the game. That's
the moments.
The moments. Okay.
Moments. Yeah.
Okay. And after I collected 1990, all those 80s cards, obviously the next card to go for was the 1993 refractor, and that was the thing that just changed everything, because this was the card that I would look at over and over again. But still, the investor was in me, and I went and did research. I'm like, what insert could I get that's sort of sneaky, affordable, given the print run? And one of the first inserts I bought was the Emerald Moments of the Bonds, because I thought, hey, if there's really 30 of these, nobody cares about them, it's safe. If I spend the crazy $80 on a card I've never heard of until about 2 months ago, it won't go away because there's only 30. That was how I approached it.
Nice. Well, I've had this question in my head since we were hearing some of your story, Milan, and the question is this: at what point does a card become, for all of us, an investment? Is a $5 card an investment? Is it $25? Is it $100? Like, when do you look at a card you're about to buy? Because I think beyond you guys, Greg and I tend to venture off into other places, wrestling, basketball, football, whatever. At one point, do we think, okay, I need to actually think, like, is this card going to be safe or not? Because I'll tell you right now, none of my Duncan Robinson purchases are safe investments. We all can agree on that, but it's coming from the heart, so I don't care. But it's cheap. So then what point do we say with a 90s insert or whatever else, when does it become an investment for all of us?
So can I go? You want me? My answer to that would be, I mean, there's no correct answer for everybody. Like, there's no blanket answer for everybody. But I would put it like this: if I'm putting the time in to find something, if I'm putting the time in to read about something, if I'm putting the time in to negotiate something, I want it to be for a reason, that finally, when I send my money for that card, that money doesn't just go, or it doesn't just disappear. So investment wise, it's different for everybody. Like, how can I put it? There are cards where it's like gambling. So if you lose the money, you lose the money. It's not a big deal. But then there's also things like stocks or bonds. If you put your money into that, you want it to slowly appreciate over time. The cards I buy are long-term holds or investments, or that's the way I kind of look at them now or picture them. It's not something that I'll buy today and try to sell tomorrow. I don't really flip cards at all. Most of the stuff that's why I don't really spread out at all either. I'm very focused in on one single thing, so I keep it very niche for me. So everything that I buy, not everything, but the high-end cards that I buy, I consider them investments. I won't buy a high-end card because somebody tells me it's high-end. I want to buy a high-end card because it's rare, it doesn't show up often, it's recognizable. And I'm fairly confident that if I ever were to need it to sell that card down the line, there would be enough of a buyer pool to show interest in the card. So that's what I consider investing in a card. But at the same time, the whole focus now is building and making them, building and just gathering and piecing it together. It's like a puzzle.
So are you buying $5 cards, $10 cards, $50 cards? Are you buying those types of Jeters?
These are $5. But you know why I bought these? I bought these because I read that these have that
The glow.
No, these aren't the glow. These are the rubies foil on them.
Oh, okay.
They ran out of the regular stars, so they put
Mhm.
the smaller star ruby on. So this is like a fun card that I bought. These are like two $5, $10 cards that I bought. Just because number one, I'll probably try to grade one of these. Why not? This is a $5 card with a $10 grade on it. It's $15 all in, for example. The worst that could happen is that I'll end up selling it for $10. But that's like, this is the stuff I'll play with. $5, $10 cards, $15 cards. I'll but not play with in the sense that like I'll go and I'll just go and buy anything for my collection. So if this comes back, whatever, a 9 or an 8 or a 10, it's staying. If it comes back a 7, then I'll just put it back out into the universe.
So you're saying, sorry, you're saying you're going to grade. What grading company do you prefer nowadays?
So now I just use PSA strictly because I love the gold Beckett labels, but for me, like I said, PSA is baseball, and my OCD visually, like I don't care what these grades. Visually, these grades all look the same to me from far away. They're all white labels, it's all uniform. So I'll go with PSA. PSA obviously is more valuable now, and that's what I'll go with. So that's how I'm working it now or collecting now.
So if you've got a BGS 9.5 Jeter, are you crossing it over to PSA?
Yeah. The Fusion that I bought, the titanium, that was a BGS 9. I cracked it the second it came to my house. I sent it over to PSA, and they destroyed it. They gave it a 6. So,
Wow.
But this is the thing. An 8.5 sold 2 weeks ago. So if I ever were to sell this, I'm not selling it as a 6. I'm sending it back to BGS and gambling on it. No, but seriously, well, why would I, right?
Right.
Why would I risk it? I'll send it back to BGS. Maybe they give it an 8, 8.5, maybe get the 9 again.
Mm-hmm.
It'll help me recoup if I ever needed to sell it. So that's kind of how I look at it too. Is like I probably got killed on that card if I try to sell it as a 6, but it's okay because it's staying. It's not something that I need to flip. But you take losses, you win. You win and you lose. You win and you lose. But at the end of the day, you know, it's part of the game.
I'm not a very storied grader. I don't have a lot of experience grading, but I mean, you could just submit it back to PSA a couple of times until they give you an 8 or a 9. And that's also another way to do it, I figured. Yeah.
Alan, are we all going to answer that question first before we get to this, or do you want to just springboard right to here right away with this question?
Let's hit that question. Did I hit it on accident? Because I wanted to bring it up for Milan.
Yeah.
Dom in IC asks, Milan, does Jeter's 1996 Mirror Gold deserve a premium over 1998 parallels due to its sort of rookie year status? What do you think?
Yes and no. Like I said, if somebody gave me an option of having the Mirror Gold or having the Essential Credentials Now, which only has 7 copies, I believe, I will take the card that has 7 copies. Why? Because just for rarity's sake and for the recognizability of that card. That's my mentality. So it obviously carries a premium being a rookie year card, but different flavors for different people.
What about the 1998 Platinum Medallion at a 98 stamp?
Over the Mirror Gold?
Yeah.
No,
What do you think?
No,
not even close.
No.
So print run does have something to do with it.
Of course. I mean, 30 over 50 is better than, you know, 30 over 99, let's say.
What about the 98 PMG out of 50?
That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one because the 98 PMG is my horror story. And I will never, ever forgive myself for that horror story because I had it, if I get it, like 3 years ago, I had a chance to grab that card sub 10,000 raw. And it was just the wrong time. It wasn't the right moment. I didn't have it. And I've been kicking myself in the ass for the past 3 years. So that card, just visually, to me, with the Statue of Liberty and the PMG effect and the mystique it has, I would probably take a 10 of that over a 10 of the Mirror Gold.
not to make you like feel any better by any chance, but I looked at 350 buy it now for A-Rod about 7 years ago on that PMG out of 50. So I know you're paying, bro. I know you're paying.
I mean, I was gonna say, the part of you that focuses on looks of a card really speaks to my soul. I love that. The part of you where your opinion on looks is heavily influenced by where you came from, which is basketball. How can anyone blame you? Those are your formative years, the formative time. Hurts me to my soul because it's the exact thing we always talk about. I think it's the monkey on my back that basketball dominates this space, and I mean it's like 98% of the space if you put the market capitalization of all the cards together. It's not even close, right?
Yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, it's good and bad because it's good because without the basketball market, the baseball market wouldn't have risen so much. But then it's also bad because I'm sure the cards that rose in baseball, you might have not necessarily thought of as the important ones that should rise. And it's like a double-edged sword for somebody that's been in baseball for a longer time or a long time. You have a completely different opinion on what cards should be more valuable, as opposed to somebody like myself who's come over from basketball and who started automatically picking up stuff that I knew what it looked like before researching anything else. Mm-hmm. So that I get that. I understand that.
Should I? I'm going to bring up some comments and then throw it back to you guys. We got Ohio Laura saying, it's interesting how everyone's story is different. I collected all the stars from all the teams as a kid in the 80s and 90s. You pretty much have to because there's not that many cards of your player. It's just one or two a year, especially back in the 50s. And my collection has gotten more and more focused over the years. I think that's true as most collections mature. It certainly was of mine. Are any of you interested or collect vintage baseball? I think I certainly do. I know that Greg does a little bit. If you consider 1993 Flair vintage, then Matt does too.
Yes, 94, baby. Let's go.
I can't speak for Milan, but I'm sure you'll let us know when you jump in. Now it went from Reds, now narrowed only to Larkin for Ohio Lawyer. And we already saw this. Yeah, it really depends on who you're talking to and how much you spend on a card.
Go ahead, Greg.
So I was just going to say, you mentioned coming from basketball, and that is the monkey on our backs as baseball collectors is what we do appreciate all these cards gaining value because of basketball, the similarities and the equivalent, but we do have our beliefs of what should be valuable and what shouldn't be valuable. And it's one of those, it's just the seesaw feeling of like basketball is bringing in the attention, and it's helping us have dumb luck because we were collectors of beautiful cards. But it's in the same instance, like we want the cards that deserve attention to have the attention. And it's like a mirror gold. Those are those baseball specific cards that just will always be one of those things that never really blossom the way we want unless there's just some heat among them. And so that's just a thing that I think about when I hear basketball collectors, because there's, he's Ohio Lawyer mentions Crusades. Crusades are a very important topic for any baseball collector.
Sure.
And those are cards that it's just it's like a mirror gold-esque of a holy grail for a baseball collector.
So the Crusade, that's another card that wasn't in basketball. That's baseball and other sports. I think it's good that not every card you can find in basketball is in baseball. So there is that part of it. But like myself, I've learned to appreciate the cards that weren't in basketball in baseball. Now, do I know what the value of those cards were back then? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that even those cards, the Crusades, the Mirror Golds, Here, Alan likes to do one of these. So this is the Select 98 Hot Numbers. This card is not in basketball, but this card, like this whole set of cards that they did, is absolutely beautiful. So even somebody that didn't know this card existed because they were in basketball will come over to baseball and appreciate it, and I'm sure pay for their player if they're collecting somebody, if they're chasing.
So do you consider Hot Numbers, Mirror Golds, Crusades? Do you consider those as hidden gems because basketball players don't know about them?
Potentially,
Okay.
yeah. I never heard of Crusades until like somebody in the Facebook groups was telling me about them, and then I never knew it was the purple, the green, or the green, the purple, the red. So but those are beautiful cards, and I never saw them before because I was strictly collecting basketball cards. So I think there is value there, and it's probably good in some sense as a baseball collector that you do have your own inserts and cards that other people can discover when they do come over or if they come over, which keeps them in it too.
Yeah. And I think we said Hot Numbers, but I think it's Magic Numbers, right? Magic Numbers.
Well, no, Hot Numbers.
From the Select bankruptcy.
Yeah, we got
Okay.
robbed. Not getting any of those. Man, we got robbed.
Yeah, I know. The bankruptcy of what could have been, man. That was a good year of cards that they seemed to have the mind grapes burning.
Yeah. We got some really special stuff there.
So I want to ask you guys a question because this is part of the collecting part of it. What is one card that you were able to acquire, or a story about a card that you were able to acquire that somebody in the hobby helped you either find or get that you were missing, but like something that wasn't every day, something that kind of, do you have one of those that kind of blew your mind that this is coming on my doorstep? Somebody is maybe offering this to me, somebody's found it somewhere and they're contacting me about it. I love those type of stories. That's kind of what actually is the essence of the chase.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first or last? Sure. Okay. I've got two. So my first was I posted on Blowout, hey, I really need these Tim Salmon cards. One of them happened to be the Flair Brilliance 24 karat gold. And there's 24 of them, serial number 24. And I posted, every week, every couple of days, hey, don't forget me. I'm still looking for cards. I'm still here. Don't forget. And then one day I got a reply, hey, I think I have the Salmon 24 karat gold. And I might have it. Let me check. So I type, I'm like, you have it? And he's like, I might have it. Let me look. And I'm like, okay, well, can you check right now? Like right now? Can you do right now? And he gets back with me in like 4 or 5 days, which in that time frame feels like 7 years. Because every day I'm thinking, maybe I found it, maybe I didn't find it. And he messaged me, hey, I did find it. And I say, oh my gosh, I will give you $250. What do you think? And he says, no, that's too much money. He says, I will take 150. You are a true salmon collector. I bought it just for fun. I want you to have this card. 250 is too much money. Just give me $150.
Wow.
So I sent it to him. He sends it's a PSA 9. He sends it to me, and I am just floored. I sent a live video to Matt. We chatted about it, and I was nonchalantly opening it, and I busted it out, and he was freaking out, and I was freaking out.
He has a video of that somewhere still. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see his eyes get this big. Yeah, it was crazy. And then my last story is Alex, Significant Inserts. Mm-hmm. I had mentioned the Prime Choice Reserve from UD Choice from 99, UD Choice. previous collector's choice. The Prime Choice Reserve numbered out of 100. I've never seen a Tim Salmon, and I went into almost stalker mode with one guy trying to locate this card, and it ended up not working out. Well, Alex comes and says, "Hey, I might have found it, but the guy won't get rid of it. He says that he received it from a California Angels pitcher." And I'm like, he got it from the pitcher? It's how it's numbered to 100. How does Chuck Finley from the California Angels have this card and gave it to this guy? And so, long story short, Alex ended up trading some stuff that I don't know, and he got the Tim Salmon Prime Choice Reserve. And I said, "Okay, what do you want for it? Like, what are we doing here?" And he sent it to me for free.
Oh, wow.
He traded whatever it was, $100, $200. I don't know how much he spent on this card, but he sent it to me because he knew how much I wanted it. And he did it out of just the pure goodness of his heart. And I've only seen one to this day, and that's the one I have in my collection. And
Wow, that's awesome.
Greg would always say, "It doesn't exist," like with 4 exclamation points. Like, it does not exist. Like, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Those are my two, like, just pure stories of love.
That's great.
Awesome.
Well, you want to go, Matt?
I mean, I think yours is probably going to be the Trump here. So let me just go quick, Alan. I love the relationships we've built in this hobby, and this podcast has actually allowed me to talk to Mike Kramer a few times, guy who created Pacific. I know there's not nearly enough love for what he did, but at the same time, I love the cards. And my relationship with him eventually helped me get a card that I also would say nobody's ever seen one for sale. And that's the Wild Vinyl from Invincible 2000. I don't know if Jeter has one of those. I would think he does. Those things are, if you're saying you don't even know what I'm talking about, then you probably,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Sorry.
It's probably the toughest insert that Pacific ever made, but Rodney's posted about it too. But Mike had a copy of. I looked at it when I visited him. He had a Griffey, an A-Rod, and might have been a Jeter. I'm trying to remember who the other one was. Anyway, he sent me the A-Rod for free, and that's will forever be my most cherished possession that I got within the hobby. There's been so many, but to get one from the guy who created the cards, and out of 10, I mean, it's I can't top that. So that's mine. Great question.
That's awesome.
I can't even answer this question because, like Ohio Lawyer answered, virtually every card I own is because someone in the community helped me. I don't have long stories because there's too many. It's just you caused things to sort of explode in my brain. But one of the obvious ones that I had to go retrieve is one of my all-time favorite cards. This is a 1 of 1 from early SPX, 1998. 1 of 1. I mean, this in many ways, I would prefer this over the Gem Master. I have to talk about it on a different episode. In many ways, I would prefer this over almost most of the 1 of 1s that exist, including the Platinum Medallion Masterpieces. And it was because Matt, just one day, right when COVID was starting, talked to somebody who sort of panicked and decided that they were going to just liquidate. And he put me directly in touch with this guy. And I was able to arrange a deal that is just mind-blowing now in retrospect, because on IG now, the way you get recognition at the highest level sometimes is to get those 1 of 1 cards, those out of 7 cards, because as hard and expensive as those PMGs from 1998 are, if you really want one, there's probably one out there that you could get.
Sure.
Yeah, but if you want the now out of 7, you may not even be able to find a single one even to like bother somebody about. So there's so many examples. I mean, this Aqueous Test is a variant of just a base card from 1990 Donruss. These are exceedingly rare. A guy in the Bonds group helped me with that. Greg let me know that this popped up when this came on eBay. I'd spoken to the owner of this card for several years, and then he put his whole set without me knowing. So I got on there. One of my best Bonds friends told me about this card and had a discussion about why this is the number 1 out of 50 from the 1999 PMG for Metal Universe. So, I mean, virtually every card. There was a Jeter collector, a friend of mine, who told me that this is one of his favorite Jeters, the 2003 Topps Chrome Silver Refractors. These are ghost cards for a lot of people. So, I mean, too many to name.
Yeah.
And obviously the mirror image fusion atomic refractor. So, from a couple of episodes ago. What about you, Milan? Anything stick out?
I have one. It was actually after I passed on that 98 PMG. That was at a show here. About 2-3 weeks later, I received a message on Instagram from a buddy of mine that I talked to. I've been talking to for years, and he told me that his friend has a 99 PMG Jeter that he pulled back in when he was probably in 6th, 7th grade. So he put me in touch with him, and I was able to make a deal for that card. I actually drove up. I got an illegal left turn ticket that day in his town that I never showed up to court for, and I finally beat it like 2 months ago. But that was that one story. Like that's that whole, when they let you know about it, you reach out to the person, you make a deal, you take a road trip, like stuff like that. So that card to me is one of those type of stories, which is what the hobby is about. It's I'm forever grateful.
Think about all the friendships that we've made in this hobby through something like that. I know I have a few in all the different sports that it started from like somebody selling me a card or me helping find them a card. It's really amazing how many people look out for one another, especially within the 90s insert group. I mean, I feel like it's still a pretty tight-knit group despite the large numbers in there. So yeah, extremely thankful for that. I do want to mention real quick. I was laughing as Alan was telling that story. It was not like, hey, Alan, here's a 101 you should buy. He's like, no, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, buy the card now. It's the only one that because I learned my lesson, Greg and I did, from telling him not to buy the essential credentials. I'm like, look, just buy it now. You can thank me later. So here we go. Working out. I'm really glad that worked out too, because yeah, you wouldn't be able to probably buy that card now, unfortunately. But before we wrap it up here, I have one final question. We're already on this topic, and just want to hear from everybody. What does the community mean to you now? The card collecting community mean to you now, as opposed to what it did? Milan, you talked about just flying solo for most of the entire time you were collecting. Like, why is it important to you now? Is what I'm asking. Like, what does it mean to you? Why is it important to you now?
Sure. So, I mean, the community, especially me, I'm majority on Instagram. Like, majority of my time spent within the hobby has been on Instagram. The knowledge, the friendships, people that I talk to that I would have never had a chance to meet. When you have something in common and something that, when you start helping each other out, when you start passing around information, like I'm sure the three of you have right now, that means a lot, because you're not alone anymore per se, and it makes it more fun. You're able to learn faster. You're able to make less mistakes. You're able to build the collection a lot quicker. So the community is everything. And then on top of that, through Instagram, I'm able to see so many cards that I would have never seen before. I'm able to interact with people that you probably would never think of wearing cards. So there's a huge part of it, but it basically comes down to like the boys club. That's what really it like comes down to, and friendships in this virtual space that eventually, you run into them too. And then you can have a beer with somebody, go to dinner, and it builds off of something as simple as cardboard and pictures of sports cards of, sports players, to friendships and getting to know somebody personally.
So based on what you just said and your experience collecting like by yourself, do you feel when you buy a card, are you excited to show it off to your buddies? And do you feel that urge to like just get it out there? Because I've noticed with us personally, when we get something, the first thing we want to do is show it off to each other and share the excitement. So do you find that contagious, infectious? Like, is that something you notice that you want to do?
Yeah. I have a few people that I share cards with when I get them, for example, or that I tell them I'm going after this card. what do you think? We discuss price potentially, so I kind of have an idea. But my main, like, I really love the visual aspect of Instagram is to take nice photos. I love the way you guys take photos. Like that's that's part of enjoying the hobby is taking the time, setting it up, whatever it is, and then posting the photo. And then that's how I look at my collection is through the Instagram feed that I have, instead of when I'm not here. So yeah, definitely. There's guys like that. And then it's sharing it in general with people that, there's a lot of people that I've talked to as well that have started maybe collecting baseball or have gotten into, have not seen cards that I've shown before. So like, for example, they didn't know that card existed, which is surprising to me because a little while ago I didn't know that card existed. So I love sharing that with other people too.
Nice.
Very cool.
What about you guys, Alan, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo much of what was said. It's an amazing community. On my first appearance on the podcast in 2019, I talked about how I used to just collect and had my cards in the bottom drawer of my dresser and I would just look at them in a dark room by myself. And from 2019 to now, it's insane. You live, Milan, on IG, and I live in the Facebook group, the 90s Facebook group that I know you're also a part of and participate in. There are just so many friendships, so many bonds, so many connections, so much networking that's happened through that. So many people have helped me. Like when you're looking at the ledger for how much people have helped versus how much I've helped, I feel like there's more balancing that I need to do. I need to do more. It's not that I haven't done anything. It's just, it's overwhelming when you think about how much people have helped me amass the collection that I've had. Would not have been able to do it by myself. Wouldn't even been able to come close. So many massive cards were a direct result of somebody sort of tapping my shoulder because they saw me as somebody who really loves these cards and really appreciate it. And that's just a moving part of the community to me. And the last thing I'll say about it is that your reputation in this community is more important than almost any dollar amount. Because in this hobby, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars crossed on a promise, on a word, wired just on a promise. Sight unseen of the card. Sometimes $1 million card goes through the mail, gets to somebody on a promise. And that's the only way that this hobby works. And so I'm appreciative of that. It's part of what makes the community as tight as it is. And without it, we wouldn't have a hobby, in my opinion. What about you, Greg?
Great words.
Yeah, it's hard to follow up on that one, man. Yeah, I have no $1 million card to send, but if I say I'm going to send it to you, then it's going to get there. I ship tight, and I'll pay the money. But I feel like the community, you kind of get what you put in. So it's that karmic, my name is Earl situation where it's just you're going to get out what you put in. And I think when your heart is pure and you want something, just miraculous things can happen. And Alan's a good example of that because he's got a lot of bonds, people looking out for him. I've had people Alex send me salmon cards. People send me links to Frank Thomas cards. Hey, do you have this? Hey, I saw this popped up. I know you want this. And it's just, I do the same. When I see something that pops up, I go to the Facebook group and I look, who collects, Roberto Alomar? Oh, hey, did you see this sweet Alomar card? No, I didn't see that. Oh, thanks so much. And then it spreads, man. It's like just goodwill, good vibes spreads amongst the community. And it's really cool. It's a good feeling because then it feels like people are looking out for you and you're looking out for everybody. It's just a close, tight community. And you feel like you're a part of it. And that's really nice because a lot of us, I feel like, collectors in general might not necessarily be the coolest people in the world. So we might be outsiders in some form or fashion. So to feel like you're a part of something is really important.
And I don't even know what to really add to that. I mean, if we're talking about nostalgia, if we were all younger, we'd all be sitting around looking at each other's cards and trying to help each other out at shows and stuff like that. So I feel like it's just carried into adulthood, right? And this is a way of still doing that. but not being in the same place. So I'm not really going to add a whole lot to that because I think you all pretty much covered all the bases. It's great to have people looking out for you, but it's also great to look out for your friends. It feels really good. So yeah, you can put that up there. I like that comment a lot. That's perfect. Great way to end things, man. I mean, it's funny when we all talk about our collections to our parents or our friends that don't collect. It's always interesting to watch their reactions because it's different every time. But hey, Milan, I want to say a huge thank you to you for your time and coming on here and talking about your story and just kind of sharing where you're at right now with collecting. It's been really awesome to talk to you in person and get your face out there for so many who probably follow you on Instagram or will be following you on Instagram. So thank you for coming on here and hanging out with us.
Thank you guys for having me. I really enjoy the show. Keep up the good work. I look forward to continuing to chat with you guys, and I look forward to potentially running into each and every one of you, maybe at the National, and then we're going to go out to steak dinner.
That's right. That's right. Any closing remarks, Alan, before we get out of here?
I mean, this was great. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you for coming on, Milan. I knew it was going to be a good show just because I watched you appear on a different show, and I learned a lot, as I always do on every one of these shows. And I'm looking forward to having you on again, hopefully sooner than later.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. It was really easy to get you on and twist your leg. So just thank you for doing that. I knew it was going to be fun talking to you because I can tell from the vibes, man. It's just it's an easy thing from a collector to a collector. You can spot them a mile away. So it was really good talking with you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Look forward to having you back on here and hopefully, meeting up at some point because the energy, it's that similar energy. I think we all appreciate that. So, all right. Thanks everybody for jumping in. We appreciate everybody coming in to view us live and hang out and chat. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. 2 more till 100, or can't believe it. Crazy. So, all right. Take care, everybody. See ya.